Tonight, the fight by individual bondholders for survival is intensifying. This debt exchange is inflicting tremendous pain on these individual bondholders, many of whom have seen these values of their bonds and investments already significantly eroded. Before we get into the details on PM Express tonight, and by the way, welcome. We've been hearing in the last 24 hours, as we started on PM Express yesterday, from some of those affected by the debt exchange program. The government is asking them to exchange their bonds for new ones that will significantly leave them shortchanged in the process. This morning on the Super Morning Show, many of them called in and they shared harrowing stories. Some of them are already contemplating suicide. One of them spoke to my colleagues on the morning show. Watch.
Those taking these decisions, are they thinking about pensioners, grown people who have to buy drugs, the unemployed who lost their jobs during the financial sector restructuring, and whatever they have, they invested in government securities? Have they committed any crime? Why can't you be very specific and tell us that if you don't participate, you lose your money? Then some of us will commit suicide rather than go through the pain.
Oh, please don't contemplate that.
I'm 66 in March, my brother or my son. I'll be 66. And there are so many people. Maybe I can survive, but I know friends who work in the public service who are doing nothing presently. All the investment are out there, and you're telling them without interfacing with them on one-to-one or giving them information that take it or leave it. What sort of attitude is that? That is the way some of us feel. The Minister for Finance, Companies and Commissions on the loans that we are paying now. Why shouldn't he return the commissions to ameliorate the situation for the country? But we, the poorer people, are being asked to give our money at 15, 20 years. What sort of leadership is this? And then you hear things like, we want to build cathedral. We want to do this. If you have money to build cathedral, you have money to do some of these projects, why don't you use it to pay our monies? Or why don't you just give us our capital?
He says he's been left in the dark, and that's his major pain. He doesn't know what's happening, and he's saying that he will use whatever means necessary to get his money back, referencing what happened, which led to the Arab Spring. Listen to him.
Meanwhile, the government who took us down this road is not ready to cut expenditure. There are so many hangers on you find in offices who are doing virtually nothing. They are not prepared to let them go. They have used our money to pay these people. Now they're telling us, take it or leave it. What sort of government would tell its citizens or treat its citizens as trash? That is the way some of us feel. And that is the way a lot of people on these platforms are. I'm on two of these platforms. That is how we feel. We are not being told anything. We are not being told anything. And I'm going to be very specific here. The Minister for Finance, Companies and Commissions on the loans that we are paying now. Why shouldn't he return the commissions to ameliorate the situation for the country? But we, the poorer people, are being asked to give our money at 15, 20 years. What sort of leadership is this? And then you hear things like, we want to build cathedral. We want to do this. If you have money to build cathedral, you have money to do some of these projects, why don't you use it to pay our monies? Or why don't you just give us our capital and take the coupon? My brother, I'm going to tell you something. In July, I was approached by one of the finance houses that there was a government bond available. I moved money, quite some money, to purchase it. I've not earned one coupon on it. And now you're telling me I should wait for another 15 years maximum? I've not earned one coupon. No interest on it. And it's like you're stealing my money. You're taking my money, and I'm using stealing advisedly. If you take somebody's property without his consent, you have stolen it. In law, is expropriation. You are expropriating my property by force, by the use of law. It is wrong. It is wrong. They want to send a lot of people to their graves. They just want to send us to our grave. And the body language, the attitude, when you see some of these people who are not, who some years ago were nobody, suddenly you see them come and justify some of these things. I have never worked for government. I have worked hard. Let me call somebody. I've worked like a bull, trying to create a life for myself. Then you are telling me you are taking all the money, and I put everything in, almost everything government box, and it's a lot. Maybe we'll find means to collect our monies.
When you say maybe you find means to collect your money, what means are you looking at here?
I won't say for now. We'll find means to collect our monies. Other countries, people took decisions collectively or as individuals. In Algeria, somebody killed himself for the common good. When things got bad, maybe some people need to sacrifice for the rest.
Another affected woman called into the morning show today. In her case, it is a husband who is a breadwinner of the house. She herself is a housewife who used everything. She lost his job, took his severance package, and invested everything into the bonds. Now she's really scared that the husband now is reacting very badly to the news that his bond will be affected by this. The husband is no longer talking. She's very afraid that the husband might lose his life in the process. Listen to her story.
My husband invested in government bonds, I think 2 years ago. He was laid off he was laid off for no reason. He had a redundancy package, including his personal savings, which is worth a lot. I don't want to say it on air. He's at home. He hardly sleeps. He hardly talks about it. And we have school fees to pay. Our oldest is 16 years old. And we have twins. Our oldest and our twins, they are 3. As at now, we've not paid their school fees. And that's our only livelihood. I don't even know how we will survive if they include us. I'm also a housewife. I don't work. So how am I going to survive? How? We are begging the government. Just imagine someone will be in the house eating, taking the kids to school, doing everything. And your livelihood, something you have suffered for so many years, you are being ripped of it. Is it fair? Is it fair?
You say your husband hasn't been talking.
No.
How has this affected him?
He barely sleeps at night. He barely talks. Even if you want to have a discussion with him, he hardly responds. I'm young. I don't want to even lose my husband. Please help me.
So that is the passion to appeal. Please help me. Very helpless, of course, in the face of the government debt exchange program. And you heard both of them have one common theme, the lack of information and groping in the dark. That's the story of many of the individual bondholders. So what is happening now? A few individuals also affected have come together now to try and represent their interests. A new one that emerged today, a very credible one, is called the Individual Bondholders Forum. And then we have the Pensioners Bondholders Forum as well. We'll speak to them. They are one of their conveners is in the studio with me shortly. But the Individual Bondholders Forum say a very simple point to you if you are a bondholder, an individual bondholder. And yesterday we learned on PM Express that many banks are calling their clients to come in and sign forms when they have not explained to them what the forms are. Those forms, once you sign, will lock you into the debt exchange program. and they don't know. Lawyers have told us on Top Story today that the banks themselves have liability if they don't explain it and get their customers to sign on to this. So the forum is saying reject and refrain from complying with the mandatory deadline imposed, which, by the way, is the 16th, next week. Next week, Monday, is the deadline. The forum says don't sign on. Don't sign any form if your bank calls you to sign on to it, because they are hoping to sit down and negotiate with the government. And if that fails, they may take up a class action, right? So that's the message from the forum. And then they also make the point that you need to inform your fund managers not to accept the debt exchange program with the DDE. So if your bank calls you, and I know many banks have called people, they sent you messages asking you to come and sign documents. And yesterday you had two of the bondholders say they were not told anything about it. One of them says he was asked to come. He went to the bank and he asked for clarity. What is this document for? The people who were giving him the document at the bank officials, were too busy to explain. They said you should just sign. He said he won't. He took the papers home, was hoping that he will look at it today and decide. So you have to be informed first. And the individual bondholders forum say, when you go and take the form, tell them that you aren't signing, that you won't accept, and they themselves should not comply, because this is going to be subject to further negotiations. So that's their position. Now, they also have a message to the government, and they're asking the government to open channels of communication for frank and transparent and sincere dialogue. In essence, sit with the bondholders and talk, which government hasn't done. Tonight, government has issued a new document in which they explain a bit more what the benefits are for signing on and what the implications are for if you don't sign on. But there hasn't been so far any sit down with the affected individual bondholders. And now there are different groups now, well constituted, ready to sit with the government. At least in the last count, there are three of them. There's a first group that is taking up a class action led by Martin Kwebu. Then there's a second group, which we saw today, the Individual Bondholders Forum, made up of very credible individuals. And then, of course, there's a Pensioners Bondholders Forum as well. Also, so they are and all of them will speak to the pensioners who believe that they can all come together and form a coalition and fight this. So that's where we are with that. And then the bonds affected, ESLA bonds, Dacha bonds, we know that we've come to deal with this already. And there's this research that we talked about today on the upfront, which you just wanted to recap, which is if you look at the whole entire debt exchange program, and this is one that was done by a joint research that was done on the implications of this for you, they conclude that even before the debt exchange program was announced, the market value of the indicative bond had declined by up to 63% due to the increase in interest rates, which has wiped away the value of the money already. So in effect, they conclude that if you sign on, in effect, your money is a complete write-off over the period, 15 years, they explain there. I mean, these are the various indicators that they put in, that investors are better off, actually, with the December 24th proposal compared to the December 5th proposal. Holders will lose up to 66.6% of the bond value if you go with this one. Now, one of the other things that I found interesting, and we've been pouring through the Finance Ministry's own detailed documentation surrounding the debt exchange program. There's one particular document, a very bulky document, that contains some of the legal terms of the debt exchange program. And we found this very interesting. And Martin Kwebu alerted us to it today because he represents some of the bondholders. That actually, there are many of you who think that your treasury bills are safe. And of course, as far as this particular debt exchange program is concerned, the current one, yes, it is safe. But I want to read to you something that we found in that document. So, quote, treasury bills issued by the Republic and certain non-marketable securities issued by the Republic are not subject to this invitation to action. So Emphasis on this invitation, as in the invitation we are talking about that is now affecting individual bondholders. However, such treasury bills and non-marketable securities may, however, be subject of other exchanges and purchases by the government of Ghana from time to time. Simple English. This current invitation, treasury bills are unaffected. But government is telling you, warning you, that down the line, treasury bills may be included. This is the Finance Ministry's own document. You will find it on their website. Go there, download it. The document is bulky, very technical language, but try and read it. Try and read everything. If indeed you have any investment, treasury bill, bond, read it, because that's the only way you get informed. This line is there. So a lot of people think treasury bill, and the last time they issued treasury bill, it was oversubscribed, right? But government is telling you, is warning you that down the line, treasury bills may, however, be subject of other exchanges and purchases by the government of Ghana from time to time. When that time comes, nobody knows. It could be tomorrow. Why do I say that it could be tomorrow? This same government, managing this same election program, has flip-flopped on what to include and what not to include, right? We've seen that. So they start by saying, treasury bills not included in this one. True. But then they tell you it may be included down the line. Another one to note, individual bondholders will not be affected. You heard that. That was categorically stated at the beginning of all this conversation about the election program. Individual bond will not be affected. What is the status of that promise or that commitment now? They are being affected, which is a current fight we're seeing right now. And then the president himself was categorical. No haircut on principles. As we know right now, if you really look at what is happening, it is a haircut in effect. So there's a lot that you need to be aware of. You are the investor beware, because the document is bulky. Many won't find it, but we have found it for you. Get to see Martin people who alerted us. We were pouring through the document yesterday, and then we also found the big one with the finance minister was included in that, which is that, in effect, as we told you yesterday, in that same document, don't bother to sue government, because if you sue government, and that's the finance minister saying it, you may not win. But even if you win, the finance minister says, we haven't waived our immunity to you can't attach and you can't execute. It's in that document. So the big question is, what next? I'm joined in the studio today by one of the conveners of the pensioners who are affected by this. They are holding bonds. And then I'll also be joined by Franklin Kujo, who is with the Individual Bondholders Forum. Senor Hosi is also a convener, will also join us in the studio. Let's have a real honest conversation about this and what their expectations are now that there's a lot of unity on this subject going forward. Stay with me. And thank you very much for joining us on PM Express. My guests are in the studio with me. Senor Hosi is a convener, Individual Bondholders Forum, and Dr. Edu Ananimchi is a convener. He's of the Pensioner Bondholders Forum and a former Director General of the Security and Exchange Commission. We started off, Senor, by playing some of the very heartbreaking, harrowing tales of individual bondholders. Some of them come to the morning show. So I heard you on the morning show today. There are two people we played. One of them is contemplating suicide as we speak, and my colleagues were urging him not to. The second woman who called in, the husband lost his job, the small money that he took, the severance package he invested, and she's a housewife. The husband is now unable to talk because of the thing has just affecting him. Her main concern, as we heard, is that she's young as a housewife, but she's afraid that the husband might die in this process. And so she ends by saying, please help me. What you say to that? And I guess you, because you're at a forum, I'm sure you've heard a lot of these stories that galvanize you to mobilize.
It's a very pathetic story. So when I recall some of the conversations today, I can only tear. And look, a lot of members of government are not happy. I have former ministers of the same government, former DCs of the same government, former MPs associated with this government, who are distraught. They can't actually even pay for their electricity bill and then their medications. Because they have monies in some of these collective investment schemes that are also exposed to the debt exchange program. And the entire mess is also creating liquidity around that. We are dealing with the livelihoods of people. We are dealing with people's hard-earned investments, savings over years, willfully forgoing enjoyment at the moment, hoping that they can make savings and sustain their lives in a viable way. We are looking at lives of young people who have now been convinced by the likes of Ogbami Tete, who used to go to University of Ghana and tell everybody, all right, you fear and all, they will come and tell you, come and invest. We take that risk and we believe that at some point we can actually build a home, start a family. People's lives, people's hopes and aspirations have just been thrown out of the window without their consent, without their cooperation, without their engagement. I don't think that's how to run policy. Individual bondholders, government is very clear that it's an almost no-go area. That is why they didn't try to at the start, all right? Everybody that they were dealing with identifier groups that they could actually have a structure for engaging, negotiating, and structuring the nature of the debt exchange program. But individuals, no. But now it becomes the easy target because we can just force it down the throat and these guys will just take it. Man, no. These are lives today. These are not just pension funds where we are actually looking at our sustainability into the future. We are looking at people's lives today. Today. Somebody has forgone his money, 1,000 cedis, 500 cedis every month, hoping that maybe they can buy that land and start a life. Now you have thrown that whole thing over another period of what, 15 years, not 12 years. Go and work the math, you realize it's even worse. Because the real income in that, you're actually throwing away your current value of about 66% thereabouts. So where is the sustainability and the viability of people? It took us a long while for us to get people to even start the savings culture. No economy grows without building your savings. Solo growth model. It's basic economics. If you don't know it, go and read it. All right? You can't also do that without the productivity of your people. Your people are being productive. Your people are now learning how to turn around and bring in savings. And then you just wish it away. Pensioners are calling. It is good that Anani is here. All right? Our former sec boss. They are calling. People are just crying because they depend on this for their BP medication, for a lot of their medications. And they need that routine income. People have lost their jobs, like you just said. And it's not just about the banking crisis. Today, the economy is tough. Things are hard. Businesses are struggling. So we are laying people off. And you're coming to individuals who you have cut their hair. And now they are ahead. One, you increase taxes. What has happened to your income? Your disposable income has reduced. Two, now, a lot of your family friends are losing their jobs. Now they have to share their income with you because you have to send Momo here. What's your disposable income? Gone. Now you chop this one. You've brought in new taxes. You've chopped all this. And in addition, now you are saying that the one that I even saved to try and even pay my children's school fees, use this as the basis to sustain some part of my livelihood. That one too, you are digging your hand deep into it. And at the same time that you are doing it, you are living large. It's like somebody owns you and deciding to buy a Lamborghini and flaunt it in your face. You don't have the money. Cut your coat according to the size of your cloth. I was there the last time with what's his name, Joe Jackson, and went over this. And I told her it is coming. Because what we're having is not sustainable. But we don't have the humility, we don't have the sense of responsibility as policymakers to actually take the hard decisions that we vote you into power for. We vote you we queue to vote you and give you power for you to come and impact our lives constructively. We give you mandate, we give you our taxes. After that, you abuse it, you misuse it, you mismanage it, and you come back to us and say, pay more taxes. We pay the taxes, and after that, you come back and say, now, give me your savings. But still, I'm going to be riding my V8. I'm still going to be flying my business class. I'm still going to be keeping my SOEs are increased from 86 to 177 with very little to nothing to show for it. We have increased public sector compensation by 308%. So you want me to pay for that lifestyle that you want to have to fulfill your own political and whatever It is. But yes, still, you now want to come and chop my savings, my investment that I just use to sustain my family. Master, why? Why do individuals and Ghanaians always have to be at the raw end of the misdealings of politicians? I think we've had enough. They always keep creating a mess, and when they create a mess, they come to ask for us to pay. And we've been doing it. You run down toll, you come and say, let's pay debt recovery levy. You run down the energy sector, you come and say, let's pay energy sector levies act. You mismanage what they call the GET fund, and the next minute you say we should do dirty bonds, and we all have to pay for it. You keep messing up every time, and every time Ghanaians will always have to come and pay. Now we are paying with our taxes. You want us to pay with our savings? How insensitive can you be?
Anna Nenchi, so you represent the pensioners. How did you get involved in this? Because I heard you today say you were actually out of the country and you had to abandon your trip and come down. What happened?
Well, I was here when the program started. That is a LIA program that exempted individual bondholders. And I've been a champion of exemption of individual bondholders. So I didn't have a problem. I was rejoicing. So I took some small time to go and visit family outside. I left 19th. At that time, the second program hasn't come out.
That's 19th of December.
Of December. So whilst I was there, I think it was around 29th, 30th that I got some information from the WhatsApp groups. Somebody was even saying, Doc, see, you were happy individuals were exempted. Now they have been broken. I say, we don't mean it. So I got the document and I studied the document critically. The next day, I organized a Zoom meeting and invited people to join for us to discuss, for people to understand the document properly. After I've done that, I said, well, I have to do something. If the pension funds has been exempted from the program, then the funds that have been paid to people who are on pension now and they are investing should also be exempted. So I put a WhatsApp message across that anybody who is above 60 years and has government bonds should contact me for important information. So when you contact, then I send you what I wanted to do. I didn't want people to say as if somebody want to find a quick way of deceiving them. So I'll tell you who am I and say this is what I want to do. What I want to do is that I realize government has exempted pension funds. So I want to mobilize the pensioners and also petition for government to exempt the holdings of pensioners because it's the same amount of money that government think that it should not impair, which for people who are yet to come on pensions, you want it to be at least have some safe thing for you to retire on. If that is the case, then why do you what you have paid for people who are on retirement? Why don't you exempt that one too?
You make a point. So you people retire and they take lump sums.
Yes.
And then when you take that lump sum, you don't want to waste it.
Yes.
So you invest it in the bond. Now that too has now become part of it. So you say no pension funds will be affected.
Yes.
But in effect, when they take their lump sums, they go and invest in bond. Already.
A pension fund, I liken it to an adage in a local, like we said, and suno ebro and a suno dokono. There's no difference between maize and kinky.
Yeah.
It is maize that has been turned to kinky. Mm-hmm. If you hate maize, you can't eat kinky.
At all.
So it is maize. So I liken the pension funds as maize, which is not ready for consumption. So you want to protect the maize, but the one that is in the form of kinky.
You say you protect it.
Protected. It is the same pension funds that people have realized it has been paid out to pensioners. And they have also invested this plus some other savings they have made into these bonds. So if you want to save the income of those who come on pension, and therefore you are exempting the funds that are going to use to pay them, why won't you exempt the pensions people who are also now having their funds and investing it in the government bonds? That's my basis. So that is why I said, given what government has done, the only thing I can do is to fight for pensioners also to be exempted, because they have exempted pension funds. People who are working now and saving to come out of pensions and use, that you say you want to protect. But the ones that people have worked and have received already from the pensions fund, and they are investing on their own, then that should also be exempted.
And let's clarify, Dr. Ananientwi is... Edu Ananientwi used to be the head, immediate past, right? Head of the Security and Nations Commission. He's not speaking because he's just simply galvanizing people. He's affected.
Yes.
Yeah, because you're
on pension.
Yeah, you're on pension. Your monies are in the bonds. So as Senor Hosi and myself, because I mean, as for bonds, if I'm not doing bonds, you're doing treasury bill or you're doing something else. Other than that, if you earn your small money, what else are you going to do with it? I mean, so it's a general thing that everybody does. And we just read in the statement that it is said, what's the name of the guy? Martin Bill, who drew our attention to the fact that in the document that was issued in there, even treasury bills may be affected down the line, because the government had said in that document that in this particular exchange, not treasury bill, but down the line, they may come to it. And in your press conference today, you said you've written to the president. Have you had any reply?
The petition was sent to the minister.
Minister for Finance. Okay.
And copied the president. Okay. So that was done. The petition was written on the 7th. I think on the 8th or so, I sent an email to the minister, but I don't take that, because I said it will be delivered, the hard copy will be delivered on the next working day. Monday was a holiday, so they were able to deliver it only yesterday, and a copy to the president. Then this morning, I personally sent a letter to the minister requesting for audience to have a meeting for us to discuss the petition that we have sent to him yesterday, and said we know he has a very heavy schedule, but we pray that we could have that discussion before the end of the invitation.
Which is Monday.
Which is Monday. So that's what we have done so far.
Okay, and Senor, in your statement today from the forum, the first point you emphasize is that individual bondholders should not accept and join the dedication program. Why is that important?
And we'll just repeat that. Anybody who's been contacted by your bank, write back to your bank and say you do not accept it. Anybody who has his money in any of the funds, whether it is the Data Bank M Fund or a balance fund, Tesa Capital, Triple T, EDC, whatever it is, let's get this clear. Do not accept it. It does not augur well for your good or the sustainability of this economy. You are under no compulsion to accept it. We must be at the table. You deserve to be represented. You deserve to be respected. You deserve to also be given a fair and equitable place in this discussion. Individuals have not been engaged whatsoever. You've engaged the pensioners, you've engaged the fund managers, you've engaged the banks. Where are the individuals? Reject it now. This DD as is cannot stand. We would meet, and government must open an immediate channel for us to engage and find an amicable resolution that creates a win for the politics that they want to pursue, and also the sustainability of the real livelihoods that we have here. To those at the Ministry of Finance, most of you are cranking numbers, and you are seeing numbers as statistics. These are real human beings. These are real lives. They are not numbers. Mr. Entry here is a human being. Me sitting here, I'm a human being. The 65-year-old person is a human being. The man threatening to commit suicide is a human being. It's not a statistic like you see on your spreadsheet. These are real lives. Let's all sit down and agree a path out. This is not the optimal solution for Ghana's current crisis. Ghana's current crisis and the problem starts from the physical. It starts from no other space than the physical. Government must start cutting its coat according to the size of its cloth. Are you seeing that from government?
No.
Absolutely not. But you want us to always be the one coming in to take the brunt for your misbehavior, for your recklessness, for your suboptimal management. That is what is really very, very, very painful. There are crises, we all sacrifice, but we all engage and we all understand and we work on it together as a country. When Black Stars loses and they play gallantly, we all rally around the flag and then we cheer our boys on. There are times that you really have a problem. Ukraine has a war right now. The people have rallied together and they are helping their country and their government fight the war. People are suffering. Everybody knows you are suffering for a cause. What is the cause they are suffering? I'm telling you, under the current structure, this thing will continue. Look at what they have put in there. Immunity clauses. Even when you accept this thing, and you are going to lose what? About 60% plus of your income. Guess what happens? They have immunity clauses. If they breach it or decide to vary it regardless, what will happen? He's a lawyer, he will tell you. You can sue them, you get a case, you can't attach it. You can't attach anything. So it is Yamutu. So we'll get back here after IMF is gone. When did we leave IMF? When did we leave IMF? Then suddenly, we are back here again. It's nothing else but the politics. Politicians cannot keep punishing us, the people. We have suffered enough. Ghanaians have suffered enough. We have suffered enough. On our backs, you are living large. On our backs, you guys have built wealth that you never end. On our backs, you are living lives that your salaries cannot justify. On our backs. Please, and nobody is chasing you for it. You can keep it. At the right time, God will ask you. But please don't come and now put your hand in our pockets. In our pockets. Somebody called me today and he said, now they don't know how they're going to pay their school fees.
Yeah,
they have put their children in their private school. They can't pay. They don't know how because this is a major formula for it. They can't pay. Meanwhile, you've all the same governments and politicians have run down our public schools. Even drivers are taking their children to private schools. So the small money that we try and hustle and get, and then we invest. What crime have individual bondholders done? The only crime is that they trusted their government. How can that be a crime? You breach one of the fundamental principles of finance, that instruments issued in local currency by a government is risk-free. What crime have individual bondholders, have Ghanaians, the Ghanaian public, what crime have we done? It's a crime that we kill to vote for you. Me, I feel very authorized to speak to this government because I voted for this government in 2016. I voted this government into office. And I've been one of the most disappointed people in this government. And for you to want to take these actions and act this way to your own people, how insensitive can you be? How? I mean, I can't understand. How?
Dr. Edu, let me ask you, in your statement, you also say your members should not sign on to the delegation program.
That is what the forum
has advised that don't sign on.
Because we think the petition will be successful.
Okay. But what is the flip side if you don't sign on? Because there's a subtle, there's another document that has been issued today. If you read out, and I joined one of the banks, they did a briefing of their customers who had bought bonds. I mean, I'm not a customer of them, but I just wanted to get education. You have the subtle feeling you get when I was in a briefing that there's a subtle threat in there that if you don't sign on, in fact, there's one suggestion that even the current bonds that we're holding may be delisted completely.
You can't do that.
So what is the downside to it?
If we don't accept this is an invitation to treat. That's what the government is making. It is we, the bondholders, who will make the offer to government for government to accept. So if you invite somebody to make an offer, the offer has not even been made. The offer will come from investors in government bonds to the government for government to accept or reject. If we don't even if the government was making the offer for you to do the exchange and you don't accept the offer, you don't have a problem. You will still have your old bond to keep.
But there's a deadline, so
that's what I'm saying. If
yesterday when we spoke to people who are afraid that if I don't sign on before, and the banks are deliberately calling to say, do it by this date, that something may happen to you post Monday.
Yes. Exactly.
Is that fear founded?
Well, if you look at the document, it's like I may not be able to pay you if you don't exchange. I may not be able to pay you. So the caveat is there. I may not be able to pay you. That's why I'm advising you to accept the new one. But nevertheless, if you decide not to pay, not to accept, you will keep your old bond. and its covenant and terms will always be there. But if the time comes for the payment of the coupon or the maturity period comes and the government has to give you back your money, the government has indicated that there's a likelihood that I will not be able to pay. And if I am not able to pay, going through the legal process to get the money will also be a challenge. That is the meaning of that aspect that the government has paid.
And explain this immunity thing. Can you really sue the government? Because you are the expert in this area.
You can sue, but you can get, if you have a good case, you win. Except that attaching, the government's assets is the problem. So if you have a case and you have won, and you are not able to get, if I'm an individual, you can just, if you see a car somewhere, you can just come and pick it up, But the government, the sovereign has that immunity. In the new issue, that is why they say they will lift that immunity.
To sue, so you can sue.
You can sue and get whatever. But there's still a clause which is not complete waiver of all 100% immunity waiver, no. But the point is that,
with the immunity, with that, you can go and sue them, win your case, yes. But you won't get anything.
Yes. Which is what it is.
If you don't exchange, you still have your bonds. But the thing is that the government is likely to default. And if the government defaults on the bonds that you had not tendered in for exchange, then your only option is to go to court and sue for your funds. And that's what the challenge will be.
I'm happy you are here because you can't get any better person than you, really, because you used to be the board of the Securities and Exchange Commission, and the bond is a security. So let me ask you, I'm a bondholder, and many people who are watching who also want education. I know you're advocating for people not to sign, but help us understand. And there was a point I also had the same fear like many people, that Monday, I don't know if you've seen the one issue today, there are some, they sort of suggest that this bond, if you accept it, gives you a better offer than what you had before. I'm going to pull it up whilst you answer.
What you had before, which other before? You see, government communication is very funny. This deal, as you have today, because of the cash flows you have, is better than the deal of December 5th.
True.
But you see, when they put you in a lion's den with a hungry lion, and somebody says that, I've moved you from a den with a hungry lion to a den with a hungry tiger. Mm-hmm. What good has the person done for you?
Yeah.
Meaning you are going to die anyway. Maybe you survive 2 or 3 seconds more. You are moving us from the lion's den to a tiger's den. So, when they say better, what is better? Better than our original bonds with clear cash flows that we had our eyes fully gadochi and went to invest in. Charlie, if you want to lie to the people of Ghana, find another way to do it too.
Yeah.
Now we've all gone to the school small, or if you don't have, we have Doc here. Yeah. You can explain to
but Doc, that is what I find to be the problem. The lack of sort of information around it. In fact, yesterday I was speaking to a doctor. He teaches at the banking college, Dr. Atuahen. He said even for him, the bulky document, he couldn't understand. So he called his friends in the UK to help him. And all of them came back with different interpretations. So I'm like, if Dr. Chiahene, the man who teaches banking, doesn't understand, can you imagine what the ordinary pensioner, where that would leave him? Yeah. Have you found that to be a problem when you talk to your members?
Yes, it is. And I say that's why I took it upon myself to do some education across. I put a message on some WhatsApp platform that I'm on. I call it Understanding the Domestic Debt Exchange Program. Mm-hmm. I even talked to accountants just before I came here. The accountants, Ghana District Society, which I am a member, invited me to come and speak on that, to explain. And you can see even chartered accountants didn't understand the document. but I was able to break it down. That's the job.
You've even gone from saying the people at the finance meeting.
Please don't understand.
They don't understand. The people sitting at the Flagstaff House, they don't understand. People who are part of the economic management team want us.
So I have to take them through and explain. It's not just, you need to understand it. Not many people, it's quite technical, especially where you are going to give 7 bonds.
Yeah.
The percentage is going to the 7 bonds. That even percentage, as soon as people see it, they think it is the interest rate. But no, that's not the interest rate.
So let's take a simple 10,000 cedis.
Yes.
If you want 10,000 cedi bond, based on what you've explained, what does it mean?
If you have a 10,000 cedis bond and it's going to mature this year, that's what we call the eligible 2023 bonds. By the settlement day, which is 24th January, the government will check how much interest has accrued on this your bond,
Capitalized.
which is 10,000. So let's say the interest accrued, your next payment day hasn't come. Bonds are paid semi-annual. So you took your interest maybe some 3 months ago. So you were waiting for another 6 months before you get your interest. So by the time that the government is stopping that, you have some interest. So that will be accrued and added to your 10,000. So assume for simplicity that you got 11,000. This 11,000 is what was due to you at the day this bond is supposed to be stopped and new one issued to you. If the bond was maturing this year, then the government is going to issue you 7 bonds. 15% of your 11,000 will be in a 4-year bond. Another 15% of your 11,000 will be in another 5-year bond. The rest, I think 14%.
It's all spread over to
spread
20,
for a 6-year bond, a 7-year bond, a 9-year bond, and a 10-year bond.
So 50% of the 10,000.
Of the 11,000.
11,000.
The 10,000 plus.
Okay.
Making 11. So they will take 15% for year A, 50% for year 2, and I think another 50.
50% of 11,000 is what?
Yes. That's what they will do.
Yeah.
And then the 11,000 that has been spread over 7 bonds. So the value, the first, second one will be the same value. The others will also be the same value across to the 10th year. Then when you come to the interest, the first year, all of them, the 4-year bond, the 5-year bond, the 6-year bond, the 7-year bond, the 8-year bond, the 9-year bond, the 10-year bond would have 0 interest rate. Then the second year, all the bonds will have 5%. Then the 3rd year, for people who are at the 23 eligible, 10 years. The 5th year, you get. The 4th year, the same. What you get, apart from the 2nd year, the rest of the years to maturity is at the same rate.
That's 10.
No, it's not up to 10, because one start from, I don't have but it starts from
It ends at
0.
10 points.
Then the next
You have
year,
a 10.
Yeah, I mean, the
next year you get
I'll go to. But I thought the first time they said 0.
It's 0, then 5.
And then 5, and then 10
then
throughout.
9.
No, not 10. Then it goes to
I
9.
see.
it goes to 9.
9, then 9 something.
9 for the 4-year bond.
Okay, I see.
So you get 9% for the 2 remaining years. The first year, 0. The second year, 5. Then the 3rd and 4th, you get 9. It is like that throughout. So as we move along, the 9 becomes 9.15
Yeah.
if you are holding a 5-year bond. So the first year, you get 0. Second year, 5. 3rd to the 5th year,
9.1.
you get 9.15. If you are having 6, it moves to 9. I think it's 15.15, always
Adding to
adding 8.
I see.
Yes.
I mean, your
So
money
it's-
is completely.
yes,
So they're chopping your money into
They're
bits.
chopping up. The
They
president,
chop the money into bits, and then they give you.
You effectively are going to lose about 66%
your coupons
of your money.
on each of the bits.
Let me summarize it for you. You are going to lose about 66% of your total.
So in other words, this 10,000 cedis, this 11,000, you lose 66% of that.
Your real value in that whole spread today, your 10,000 will really be 4,400.
By the time you come
If you want to swap it right now for your cash today, it's 4,400.
Okay.
They've just cut off Over 66% of it. All right. So I mean,
Doc, another one. So, if you sign on to this, the view, and I got the sense, that when you sign on to this, that your money in 15 years will be worth pretty little. What happens to it?
That's why investment must yield interest, and investment must yield interest above inflation.
Inflation today is 54 point.
That's. But we have heard this before. I remember some years back. I was teaching on the stock exchange at that time. Interest rate T-bill was at 45%
yeah.
T-bill.
That's in 2000.
No, before 2000.
Okay.
Interest rate T-bill, and that was a time that people were thinking that inflation was 70, 72, and there was an argument between academicians and government as to what is the highest interest rate. So interest rates, inflation has been higher than interest rate before in this economy. We are not saying that is right, but if you get inflation higher than
your returns,
then you are losing substantial part because the inflation is to replace the loss in value of your assets. Then plus something small which will give you a spread between the interest rate and the inflation so that you are cushioned by that percent. So normally we say inflation plus 3%.
Yeah.
But if now inflation is, I'm told it's about 50, the last time or 40, getting to 50. And if you are even having government bonds, which is paying you 34%, you are still losing.
You're still losing money.
So once the interest rate is not above inflation rate, you lose money.
And this exchange, it's way below, and plus you even get zero in the first term. So that is why,
like first year, you will be losing an equivalent of the inflation rate in the first year.
Wow. So that is why your members are saying that this will kill them because they won't get anything.
You won't even get anything to measure the loss because it's zero.
Wow.
The problem with our group is that this is what they are living on. Day to day, it is the bonds that they have invested their money and they are living on. So to say the whole of this year, you are not going to get any interest on this bond, then ask yourself, how do they buy the medication? And I told them this at the press conference that you don't know, when you are growing, God give you an import license to import sicknesses to yourself. Because that's God's way of calling you. If you don't become weak, God will not call you unless maybe through an accident you are called. But at least God make sure you are waking today. You are here tomorrow. You are here, and all these things needs constant cash for you to
Just so if you use the Fisher's model, you actually realize that even for just year one for 2023, your real return on that offer is negative 35%.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, Franklin Kujo, I believe, has joined us. We wanted him earlier, but I think he's joined us now. Hello, Franklin. Oh,
hi,
great.
Evans.
Hi, Franklin. Great to join me. Franklin, let me ask you first of all, you are a brilliant chap. I mean, one of the most brilliant people I've met. Do you really understand what is going to happen with your money that you bought the bonds with?
Well, I know that there's been some
Sorry, Franklin?
decapitation of the funds already. That pretty much I know. I'm saying that I know there's been a severe decapitation of the funds already. That pretty much I know. But the debt exchange program itself is a bit convoluted and concocted, and I do not understand any bit of it. But at least I understand that my funds have already been decapitated significantly. And by what percentage is what probably we need to quibble over.
Okay. Now, since you're here, you're also a convener of the forum. So I must ask you this. I know you are seeking to engage the finance ministry on this. I wonder if you've made any. First of all, what is the total number of people who have signed on so far to the thing? Do you know? To the forum?
Well, we need to check those numbers, but they are coming in thick and fast. Can you hear me?
I can, yes.
Yes, they are coming in thick and fast, and there are very influential people have just called. In fact, this evening, a very influential member of parliament just called to say that he signed up as well. Very, very influential, really. And and the numbers are coming in thick and fast. I had calls from some people who work with the diplomatic missions as well, who are signing up as well. They just wanted some assurances that we were not any spooky organization. But so the numbers will be checked out, but the numbers are coming in thick and fast, really.
Your ultimate aim is to get government to sit with you.
Hello?
Your ultimate objective is to get government to sit with you and do what exactly? Spell it out for me. If you get a meeting with the finance minister today, what do you want out of this? Hello, Franklin.
Well, I mean, the first issue, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
There's a delayed feedback, really. Okay. Well, I mean, as we stated in the presser this morning, we have been overwhelmed by the lack of preparedness to negotiate properly, to engage bondholders properly, right? And so if we got a meeting, which is one of the things we want to do with this IBF, we'll definitely lay out what we think members are thinking, that they want to be exempted from the whole DD. They also want some fair representation in terms of, if not exempted, account enough for the members as well. So there's a two-pronged approach really. We want exemption for those who willingly would want to be exempted, and then also those who want to be part but still would need some significant assurances in terms of, I mean, the interest rate that have been put out there are not fair at all. And so if we manage to negotiate that or revise that significantly to the wishes of some of the members, we would have done our bit really. But I suspect I don't think at this stage we are going to have.
Sorry, Franklin. I think I may have lost you there at the end.
Yes, there's a delayed feedback. All I'm saying is that it looks as if a lot of water has passed under the bridge. Time is of the essence, and I'm not too sure what concessions the ministry is likely to make, which takes us back to the first position, that at least those who are willing for us to take the matter to court would pursue those options as well.
Okay, so all options are on the table. I mean, Senor, so we're at the point now where I bet you haven't heard from government.
No. We will be submitting a petition to government hopefully tomorrow. And we'll also be looking at other options as well.
The legal options.
I mean, government can go ahead and run any negotiation with any group of people. But for individual bondholders, which definitely includes pensioners, please, this is your 17th business or 16th business. We are not part of it. It's just as simple as that. Let's sit down and agree what works. We can't have 0% for any 1 year. Because this is what people live on. People's whole life plans are dependent on this. The cost of funds, trying to borrow money to do business, to sustain yourself. Right now, it's around 36 to 40% per annum if you want to borrow from the bank. I'm in business, I know what I pay. I beg you. This wahala is your wahala. Are we willing to cooperate with you? Yes, we are all willing to cooperate with you. But be reasonable. Be humble. Be cooperative. Show proper leadership.
Yeah, I mean, you raised a point. I need to bring in Dr. Doc, at your press conference, you said pensioners are willing to sacrifice.
You know, what I'm saying is definitely, if you go into some of these things and it happens that you must give some, you must consider and give some away because we need to resolve
some concessions.
Some concessions. Mm-hmm. What is there is not in the interest of pensioners. If they cannot be exempted, but there will be a way of reducing the hardship that they are going to go through and it's brought on board, we can discuss it and see if it's first is to exempt. If exemption will not be ideal or you don't want to give total exemption and you want to do something to make sure that they get something. You know, as I think that everybody must get something home from your investment so that principally, these people who are using that as their only source of income would always get something. I can't see how people are going to buy their medication if they don't have the funds. And nothing is coming to you from anywhere. All that you are relying on is the pensions that you...
Yeah, and we have one of the pensioners say he's actually considering suicide. Yes. And we have to literally beg him to take that out of the equation. He says that's if this actually happens, he will, in essence, rather kill himself than bear the pain. Exactly, than bear the pain. Have you heard this among your members?
Nobody has said that, but that's what they say. It will shorten, in our petition, we have said, it will shorten the life, our God-given lives.
That's actually a fact.
Because if we are supposed to live for this far and something happens, and for example, people who are on the high blood pressure and others, we know that if you don't take the drug, you have consequences. Now I'm taking this drug so that it sustains me over the period. If you keep on doing it religiously, no matter the sickness, your life is what sustained a little. But if you lack it, and that's why when people even commit some crime or they are suspected to have committed some crime and they are arrested, and the family knows that they have this problem, they try to negotiate to reach the person and administer the medication, because they know that if for 3 days he hasn't taken that medicine, he won't come out of the grips of the law. He will die in the hands of people who are keeping them. So it is important that people have their medication always. And if this is the only source of income that they are using to bear all this, and it's taken away from them, and you say you won't get anything, then that is a challenge, and that is why I say...
Let's take a moment to do some education. There was an amendment to the invitation to exchange, which was circulated today by the Finance Ministry. I want to go through some of the points.
A new amendment.
Well, this is it. I got it from the Finance Ministry. Yeah. Amendments to the initiative to exchange. And it sort of breaks down what it is. It's part of it's
the question and answers.
The FAQs, yeah, I think that's the same.
Well, I mean, but I want to go through some of the things, and let's break it down. It says accrued interest will be paid in capitalized form, which I think you tried to explain, that the government has decided to respond to. But there's this part. Participating holders of the 2023 bonds will receive a 2% cash fee.
Yes.
What is that?
Well, government has decided to give you 2% of whatever bonds that you tender in.
When?
As soon as on the...
Not whatever bonds. The bonds that are maturing in 2023.
Yes, that you tender.
That you tender in. So if you tender in...
if your bonds is 100,000, plus the interest maybe 100,000 and 100,000 200.
You get 2,000.
Then they give you 2% of that 100,000 200.
2% of the 100,000?
Yes. Of the total.
They'll give it to you
so if your
right
money
away.
is 10,000,
okay.
you are going to get 200 Ghana cedi. You are going to get 200 Ghana cedi.
So immediately you exchange.
If you were expecting
immediately exchange, you get 200 cedi.
So if you had saved money,
yeah,
and hoping that you build some money, and then this year you are going to the university, you are going to do a master's program. Now that one, they say they are going to take it, and when they take it, they only give you 200 Ghana cedis.
Wow! Immediately.
Then you go and figure out how you solve that problem in your university. God forgive you people.
So that's what it means.
That's the essence.
That's what it means.
So,
I see.
So any amount that you tender in, you agree to tender in for the exchange, you get a 2% money that is paid to you.
Wow! 2% of the money.
Can you imagine for 5 years trying to build your wealth to go to school and do a master's program to better your life, and this is the month that you are supposed to get your money, 24th January, and then this is what they are telling you, that you've been able to raise the money, 20,000 Ghana cedis. For the last 5 years, you've been saving 500. All right, now it's maybe 30, so you've planned it. You to take some, you go and chop. You got returns on it. You think that you put all your money here. That when I go, because of this, my family, I'll not be able to work full time, but I can put something cool to choke them. And then they come and tell you this. What has happened to your life? The only crime that these people, the individual bondholders, these Ghanaians have done, is that they trusted their government. When the opposition was complaining about the debt crisis and that they were over borrowing, Ken told us he knew what he was doing. That these are the people who went to Yale. They went to Yale. I didn't go some. They went to Harvard. I didn't go some. And we trust them. Investment risk kid, economic risk kid. We trust them. And when people trust you, this is how you abuse their trust. And you do it not even just destroying people's dignity, you are even destroying their own sustainability. I mean, I think this is the lowest of the low. And any world-thinking Ghanaian must rise up. And then we'll be calling on the labor unions. Make no mistake. All these people are part of your labor fund. It's not pensions, but it's their savings. It's their savings to actually sustain their lives. You are here. You are a worker, aren't you?
Yeah.
Haven't you put your money in there? You have plans to use that money for something. Through this, maybe you buy a home. Through this, maybe you'll be able to pay your son's college school fees in Ashesi. Then now look at all that that's happening. Over the next 12 years, your whole life is dissipated. Up now to what, 2038, I guess.
Yeah, 2038.
Between now and 2030, that's 15 years, right? 15 good years from now. Your whole economic structure is decimated.
Let's address something before we end. And frankly, I want to bring you in here. Have you received any note from your bank to come sign on to the debt exchange program? Yesterday, I asked this because on the show, there were many of the guests who felt they were being subtly coerced by the banks. There was one particular bank that ran through, but others have done the same too, that they were almost being called and subtly being threatened and coerced to come and sign on. Have you received any of that? And what would be your advice be to people who may not be as informed, who may also feel pressure to do this? Hello, Franklin.
Well, I don't think anybody has had the gut. Nobody has called me yet, but the initial, can you hear me?
I can, yes.
Well, no one has called me yet, but I recall that the initial correspondence I got from my bank essentially was suggesting that, well, this is a take or leave it matter, and that we're going to be subsumed under some exchange program. So I suspect that still holds. But you see, the question really is, why are we using shadow boxing, using subterfuge in order to coerce people to sign on to something that is supposed to be contractual, really? I mean, if it was in good faith, if it was done in good faith, you wouldn't have to use subterfuge. I suspect what should be done immediately, I think this deadline of 16 or 17 must be extended, and a proper, discussion, proper negotiation terms handed down by the Ministry of Finance. I don't even know whether they are getting overwhelmed by the work itself. It looks like to me that they're actually very confused. And so I don't think they'll be saving face if they decided to extend the time, actually. I think it will be in their best interest to extend the time and cover out the basis properly. And I'll submit to people who have been coerced or being called upon to sign on to something they know very well is not in good faith to desist from doing so. If they'll do that, they probably should come under the IBF or any other entity that is calling people for some mass action. But that's the only language I suspect would be understood at this juncture. Otherwise, they'll be on their own reign.
How do people sign on to the IO forum?
It's very, very simple. You go to GhanaIBF.com and then there's a membership page. You also click the membership page. You just fill your details. It's very simple. You sign up in less than a minute. You put your name, your email address, your phone number, and then what securities you carry. That's it.
Ghana
IBF, www.GhanaIBF. IBF as in IBF Federation.
Okay.
Yeah. So GHANA, I for India, B for boy, F for food.com. GhanaIBF.com. /register. But you forget about that. Just go to .com. You get to the homepage. You read about what we do. We've structured the organization. There's a proper governance system, a proper accountability system. We have conveners who serve as a board. there's going to be a forum of members. So every member will be the highest decision-making body. That includes you, every member. We have a forum which is like an AGM. And of course, we're also having a secretariat, a group of volunteers who are taking on the technical work, putting together the key process, the analytical work, and evaluating the options that we may have. We are in to work with everyone to provide legal, representative, negotiation, representation in this entire process, including public advocacy and education. Like my senior said, there's been a lot of confusion around it. Please, you don't sign up to something you don't understand. That's one rule in life. And when people really want you to understand things, they don't make it so bulky and convoluted. They make it simple. This is basic finance. You owe me, you have to pay. What are the terms? Make it simple, let's understand. It's never simple. So guys, no one should accept this as far as your individual bondholders are concerned. Whether you have it in your name or you have it in a fund. If you have it in a fund, talk to your fund managers. Tell them you do not accept. And they should also not go and accept anything on your behalf. It's just as simple as that. I have received messages from my banks telling me to do so. And I know that they are doing it because they are also being coerced. They are being forced by
the Bank of Ghana, yes.
The banks to also send the communication across. We won't accept it. We have a contract with government. Government has an obligation to honor its contract. If it's having its challenges, we talk. Those who have ESLA and Dachi bonds, don't even think about it. Government owes you. The government has no business trying to have a conversation about what do you call it? About any debt, domestic debt exchange. The proceeds and the source of cash for ESLA and Dachi bonds are not in any form impaired. So what's the basis for doing that? You structure these things, create a certain market for it. People take risk and invest in that. Practically even telling you that even if government has money, and ESLA is even challenged because you have petroleum consumption going down. I mean, that is part of the risk you are taking. I've taken my part of the risk. Why are you depriving me of my returns? Today, as we speak, you bought petrol. The petrol you bought, you paid the money that's supposed to pay ESLA. There's no problem with ESLA. So why are you trying to force ESLA into this? If you have ESLA, hold on to your ESLA. Don't sign any single DDE. So hashtag say no to DDE. And
DDE is the debt exchange program.
The domestic debt exchange
program. I mean, Dr. Edouanchi, finally to you, how do your members sign on? Pensioners who want to join?
Well, when I started it, I just used my...
your personal number?
My personal number. As soon as you call me and you describe yourself and you are able to show that you are 61 after 6 years and more than 60 years, you hold a bonds, you are signed on.
You're suggesting today that all of you can come together now and then form a coalition of a sort.
Because when I was starting, I didn't know there would be
there's a forum, and then there's also the...
Has come.
Yeah.
When I started this, the other Martin called me, so at least I know you also wanted to start something.
Yeah.
Now this one has come. There are other groups not organizing anything like that, but also saying they don't accept. So it looks as the non-acceptance is becoming more and more.
Yeah.
So if you are looking at that, then it just calls for renegotiation.
We have to renegotiate.
Everything.
Look, Evans, government says want 80%. Please look for 80% minus us, the individual people. We haven't done you anything. We haven't done you anything. It's as simple. The part that you won't get, we'll go and we can work with you on your fiscal side to show you how you can get it from your fiscal side. The 5 billion that have been stolen in the petroleum downstream, that tax evasion, that government has been reluctant to go and pursue. Go and start pursuing it, you will get your money. When you go, you leave there, go to the upstream. All the politics and the ideology that's forcing people to stop developing their fields, go and solve it and then start making money as well. There are too many places. The Auditor General is there. The money that have been stolen, go and chase it. I beg you. Leave our old men alone. Leave our young men who are not trying to build their life. When you are hardly contributing to that transformation in today's Ghana. People are suffering. These are real lives. They are not statistics as you see there. Number of bondholders. So, 3,000, 5,000, 500,000 people. Please. They are human beings, so they are not numbers.
Listen, thank you very much for joining us. And this is a going conversation. I'm pretty sure we are yet to hear from government really clarify these things. In fact, they promise regular press conferences so we can ask questions.
They should just take us out. They can do their press conference later. We are not interested.
Enjoy the rest of your evening, and let's see how this pans out.